This is United Medical ACO weekly event, and my name is Kemal Erkan. I'm the chairman of United Medical ACO. Good afternoon. This is United Medical ACO. My name is Kemal Erkan. Today is November 5th. Our weekly session, our goal is to give you updates for Delaware community, for Delaware health and community updates. Today, Sean Donovan is going to be part of this session on a regular basis, and we'll have different people who are going to join us. So, Sean, I know you are new for our audience, so last week was your first one. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself one more time.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so last week was my first appearance on our weekly sessions here. But again, my name is Sean. Originally from New York. I've been in Newark down here for about the past 4 years. I attended the University of Delaware and recently graduated 2 degrees, Bachelor of Science with Cognitive Science, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and I also minored in Public Health. So, like I said, I'm glad to be here and excited to be a part of this weekly session with you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the COVID updates. We have different topics that I'm going to actually bring them up so we can actually discuss what we think, and then hopefully we'll be able to give good update to everyone who's watching this. So here is our PowerPoint. Okay, so as we said, our goal is to give the update for Delaware health and community. So different stuff that's going to happen, but here's the Delaware update first. Right now, 82.3% of the population is vaccinated for 18 and over. And our goal is to be able to increase that number. Now, there are a lot of people who are getting their booster shot. And then I think that increases the total number of vaccine given, administered. This number here, 1.263, 1,263,000. That number is inflated by the boosters a little bit, but the goal again is now with the people, the younger people who can actually get the vaccination, even to the kids down to 5 years old. So this is happening in Delaware. Now the positive rate, this number is at 6.1. Now, Sean, you can actually, from our prior presentations, you can actually see different numbers. This used to go up to like 29% at some point. Oh, this is number of total tests, not person positives. So one person can have multiple tests.
Right.
So that's why sometimes that number, that each number here, everything from the statistics standpoint, you have to really watch it carefully.
Yeah.
So then we have 252 total positive cases. So this is a 7-day average. So the way that it's being posted to the system versus it's happening every day. So this 7-day average gives us a better sense of exactly what's happening day to day. So that's why people should be actually looking at the total number. And earlier I misspoke. The total number of vaccination is this number here. This is from the last week. So we're almost at 1.3 million. Now, again, the breakthrough cases is an issue for some people, but that's less than 1% or about 1%. We expect that to happen. No one, said the efficacy was 100%. So that's given. So let's see. This is the U.S. level. Did you want to cover this one?
Yeah. So I mean, as you see, obviously the spike, a lot of people were getting it back in April, and obviously it did decline as we approach the summer. But now you see that uptick as we see recently down here in November. And part of that, I think a lot of people, maybe the family-oriented mindset, where if they're going to be traveling for the holidays, both Thanksgiving and our winter holidays too, towards the new year, they may just be a little bit more self-conscious, trying to protect themselves and others. And then also, as you mentioned earlier, the vaccines now being made available to a larger population, and it's now including the younger youth group. So obviously we expect to see a little uptick right there for sure.
Now, I do want to actually bring up a different site. If I actually have it in the right way here, let me see. Reuters, I think it was from COVID. So there's a different site that I kind of like, the COVID tracker. I thought it was a cool site.
Okay.
It's a little bit cooler than the one that I normally actually share this from, is the Worldometer, but for the COVID specific, this is interesting. So because it gives you like specific for the COVID, like as the most new infections daily versus the most number of deaths daily. So then you can see this from the worldwide. And what I kind of liked here was, this is also kind of important. This is giving us the most doses administered per population. So this is important for our upcoming topics. One of the news that we saw that we would like to discuss. So we are going to look at the numbers for Israel here. And so overall, what we would like to do is start with, let's go ahead and start with the Israel news. So, and most people already know we do our source of information. We use reliable sites, and one of them is the Becker's Hospital Review, and we use this for our provider meetings and for other stuff. And then I do share these things very frequently from here. But I think this news, so John, I'm going to kind of ask you to, again, many people, they already know if they're watching this on a regular basis, but we don't rehearse these. So we may have an idea about what's coming. But when I see this title here, and it's, you are new with United Medical, but also you are new in the field of healthcare in terms of the professional side of it. But what's the first impression that you get from this?
Yeah, so like from the outside perspective, as you're saying, if you see a headline saying nearly 60% of the hospitalized COVID patients are fully vaccinated, the first impression that your quick thought might just be, is the vaccine really effective then if you're still being hospitalized regardless? So that would be the first thought that anyone who sees that headline is probably going to jump to initially. Yep. So
that's part of the reason that we do these events, because what we see is media actually can put a different spin, or people can actually read things even if they don't put a different spin. Maybe like this looks like it's just a statistics. So
yeah,
but it's not, because
it's definitely open for interpretation too. Like you said, if you're looking from a different perspective, you may get an initial thought that may not even be the meaning of who that particular journal article author was even trying to.
Absolutely. And now the nearly 60% hospitalized COVID-19 in Israel, that means you really have to see who's actually vaccinated in that country, right? So that's one of the reasons that I was actually not using the other site before, but I'm going to go back to that. And I thought it was kind of a cooler site than the Worldometer. So when we read this news, I think it would be irresponsible if you don't look at the total number of vaccinations in that country. And Israel actually is per 100 people, there's 170, I believe, vaccines. So that's about 89% of the Israel is already vaccinated. So this number is, here it is. So 88, so let's not lie. So that's not 89, it's 88.1.
There we go.
So now when the population is vaccinated at this level, of course, people who are going to the hospital is going to be more,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep. So, obviously the pool of people being vaccinated, as that number increases, people could be going to the hospital, obviously, for other conditions that may not necessarily be COVID related. But as the vaccination percentage grows, the people that you'll be going to the hospital, it's going to be more and more likely that, yes, they already have gotten their vaccine, simply because the total population is increasing with its vaccination.
So now, from every time we look at these types of headlines, I was telling you last week with what Bill Gates was saying and what Fauci was saying, Dr. Fauci was saying, people are actually taking little bits and pieces of it and then trying to make some case or supporting their case, which actually the whole picture is not or never going to say what they really understand. But many people really do not want to understand exactly what's happening. So now there is something that I posted this week. Last week, in case people miss the background, so you did play football. What was your position?
So I played football at the University of Delaware. So that's our Division I FCS. We're in the CAA conference. And during my time at Delaware, I was a quarterback. Back in high school, I played a bunch of different positions, but at Delaware, I was solely quarterback when I was there.
So quarterback. Okay, so John Donnelly, I don't know if he's watching this. I used to torture him. I know nothing about football. It's almost like I would think that I'm a pretty smart guy, but I just cannot really understand the rules. I think one of our Kansas City trips, he spent more than 2 hours on the plane to explain it to me, and then I still refuse to understand. So now the reason I'm actually bringing that up is because you said that you are playing quarterback. I know what quarterback does, so it's not that bad. So now the Aaron Rodgers has tested positive, and now I shared this earlier with you. Now this guy also is quarterback, you said?
Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the more well-known players in the league. He obviously a quarterback, Green Bay Packers. He actually won the MVP trophy last season, 2020, or 2 seasons ago, I guess. If you want to be technical, you're doing, the year when lapse over.
I think this is the team. I don't know why today is maybe the John Donnelly day. So this is his team too, right?
Yeah, so that's he has the pictures of the Packers hanging in his office for sure. Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the team, and for those, like you said, maybe not as familiar with football, but quarterback is probably one of the more valuable positions on the team. On offense, obviously, they're getting the ball every play. They're kind of making checks on the defense. They can kind of run the offense where they want to make adjustments. If they see, they read a certain coverage and they want to audible out, they want to switch the play, but they're the ones who, have the ball in their hands every play, and they're kind of in charge of the offense. And overall, I would say quarterbacks, if you look at most of the teams in the league, they're going to be captains and they're going to be, team leaders. They kind of represent their whole team for sure.
I did lose sound again. Let me see. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, I got you.
I think it has something to do with our internet connection, or maybe John didn't like what I was saying, so he cut me off. John, my speaker is, let me see here. This is now happening. Sean, can you hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you.
Well, if people are able to hear me at least, but I cannot hear you. So the problem is that I can see your answer, but I cannot hear you. One second. So, Sean, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you. You can hear me now?
You're back now. Yep.
All right, perfect.
I think one of the things is that what I was going to say with this issue. So he's a quarterback, so he's the head of the team, right?
Yep. Natural leader, yeah, for sure.
Didn't want to be vaccinated, but now he's positive. Like I didn't actually see if other people are tested also positive because they're interacting with him, right?
Yeah, so I think especially last season, but what the NFL would do is anytime, whether it's his actual teammates or the opponent, that maybe anyone they interacted with at the facility, whether it's trainers, coaching staff, I think anyone who actually did have contact in his immediate vicinity all have to then get tested. And as the NFL does, he has to, if you read the article, it says he has to sit out their upcoming game. I believe it's against the Chiefs. So obviously that's an impact on his team and, the franchise too. If you're risking, winning and losing, because now he has to sit out for the quarantine sort of.
So if hopefully maybe John will call them and then try to educate them.
Right.
So, all right. Well, so this was maybe more kind of like a popular news last week. This week actually, this came out. So just to go with some of the other updates that we have, now it's one of the issues that we are having again is the mandate. So, well, Sean, since we are coming from different generations, so you are Gen Z, right?
I was born in '98, so I believe.
Yeah. So
the cutoff. Yeah.
So like me being Generation X. So then this mandate is some people probably who are maybe older than me, they may be okay with the mandate, but I think the younger people are not okay with mandate as soon as they hear the mandate, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of the youth characteristic charisma type thing is kind of trying to be independent, not being told what to do, whatever that corresponds to any area in life, any industry. So I feel like that approach, more youthful, that may be a little bit more resistance there for that. Yeah.
And unfortunately now that is going to be one of our probably issues in the next several weeks. So healthcare, this is for CMS, coming from CMS. So healthcare facilities must vaccinate staff by January 4th, or they have to have some testing plan in place. This mandate is by the federal government, and it is affecting many of the facilities already. And many hospitals, they already took the option of doing the mandate earlier, but there are some who are not actually following that necessarily. From our point, for United Medical, from the business office standpoint, we do actually go into the class of more than 100 employees. But many of our clients are smaller. So,
yes, yeah, we kind of have our foot in both camps there, where we do have some smaller practices as well as a few large ones for sure.
So we were just talking about the mandate. Maybe the CMS cut us off, so they didn't want us to tell them, right? So what we were discussing just earlier is the healthcare facilities must vaccinate staff by January 4th. So this is in place, and we have like 2 months left if it's not done. So that's where everyone pretty much is in terms of the vaccination. Now, we do have a new medicine available for the, another thing that we wanted to discuss is, so Sean, I was just actually going through some of this stuff this week. So this medication, so I'm gonna try to say this right, is molnupiravir, right? Can you say that better?
Molnupiravir.
Okay, Ravir. So there's a shortcut. So this one is now it's the first actually medication that's available for the for COVID. What makes this special actually is it's the first type of a drug, as a drug, actually medication is the first one in its class. So there's nothing else similar to this for COVID treatment. And then it's the way that it is being treated is like similar to the flu medication. So it's like you are taking twice a day, 5 days. Now, this is not available yet, I don't believe, in the United States, right? So it's going to be become available. I think it's available in UK. So this is good news, because like many people were actually concerned about what's available and what's not. So the other thing that we wanted to discuss today was okay. So this actually is interesting to me. Again, the way that every time I see that's kind of maybe not suggesting the proper promotion of the vaccine, I get worried about this. So this mRNA vaccine less effective for immunocompromised people, but this is only 3% of the population.
Right.
So, but again, when someone just reads this headline, it suggests a little bit differently to me. Like it's almost suggesting like if this vaccine is not, unless they know exactly what immunocompromised means and how much of the percentage, right? So if it's only 3%, not like we don't care about the 3%, but you don't actually kill the good for perfection. So that's 97% of the population can benefit from this, right?
Yeah. So obviously, you want to weigh cost benefit, but if you look at how many people you are able to actually have a positive impact on, 97, obviously in the long run.
Yeah. So, and well, hopefully, more people can benefit from, of course, the vaccines. Now, I'm going to go back to our PowerPoints that I earlier lost. Let's see. Okay, so another update that we have for this from CMS is this is something that we're going to probably go deeper in the next couple of weeks. Is these changes for the ASC covered procedures. So again, what's interesting here is we had the pandemic last year, so then ASC utilization. ASC is for ambulatory surgery centers. Now it's also, our surgery center is called American Surgery Center, so they have the same initials. But the issue here is there were 267 surgical procedures. Earlier in end of 19 and for 2020, they were actually approved for ASC settings. Now, what I remember saying, and then I get a lot of criticism from different people when I'm speaking my mind. So I said, I'm 100% sure hospital lobbying is going to come back and do something regarding this, because hospitals were not happy when something is only inpatient settings, like some surgical procedures that are done only in the inpatient case setting, that only benefits the hospitals. Of course, we are not saying that anything should be, not everything should be done in this setting, in the ASC setting. However, if we are taking the surgeon's decisions out of this, because surgeon can decide if this is the right setting for the patient. Now, so this one of these problems is, again, what we see is that, so you give us 267 more surgical procedures. So many ASCs, they already make a plan to incorporate those and then make changes in their businesses. Now, less than a year or a little over a year, so CMS is taking that decision back. And then the only reason they are doing it because they don't have really enough data to support their take back decision. They're doing it because hospital lobbying is so heavy and so strong. And then they wanted this to stop because it was pushing ASCs to do more cases. And well, the hospitals wants the ASCs to be just these procedural places, which is not the case, because we saw how beneficial the ASCs could be in the case of pandemic. But also in our ASC, we do complex cases. We do a lot of general surgery cases. We do most number of bariatric cases in the state of Delaware. The patient screening process is something that surgeon needs to decide, not the hospital or not the law. Yeah. Like in this case, again, CMS is being influenced by this lobbying. So we have to make more money, Sean. So in order to have a stronger lobby, because we are private practices and we, unfortunately, our voice is not.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to compete with.
Right. So then, but I mean, it's kind of like unfair. So these are the stuff that we are going to see in time. Like you're going to see that, okay, the hospitals are, I call them almost like the legalized mafia. So then what they do is legal, but unethical in many cases. Yeah. They get paid more for the same procedure. They can pick and choose what others should be doing. They hire people from private practices, and sometimes they take over private practices completely, which is not really helping. So now, again, since you are new in the area, so one of the things is that not in the field. So when a hospital takes the private practice over, so usually what happens is many of those cases that are done in the ambulatory surgical centers, so they're being transferred to the hospital. So the cost is 5 to 6 times more. So all of a sudden the gallbladder, which can be done at $2,100 for Medicare patients in the ASC, now it's going to be about $12,000 average at the hospital setting. Yep. So this, like when we say this is unethical in a way, I really do mean it. So it is unethical. So today must be our, like all the different types of technical issues. So that my phone never rings and it rings. So it's okay. They will wait. So now that's another thing that we have from the hospital standpoint. Now we had a couple other things that you prepped. We wanted to go a little bit deeper on the spending proposal from the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. So that is, so you actually prepped this one. Do you want to give us the background on this?
Yes. So, I mean, for those who may not be familiar, originally there was our $3 trillion proposal from Biden, who then, they restructured it, kind of made some adjustments and got it down to a 1.75 trillion proposal. And this example here, this article is going to be, I believe it's Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, and he's basically just responding back saying that, he's not going to support or approve or, agree with such a proposal until he knows where exactly, each of the dollars is going. What's the framework? How's it going to be spent officially? If you look at his quote here, it says, "I will not support, the reconciliation legislation without knowing how the bill would impact our debt and economy." So that's another thing too, is, are you ready to really approve such a large bill of 1.75 trillion, without knowing exactly the impact or where it's going to go?
So what's interesting here is that this guy is a Democrat, yep. Right? So the criticism is coming from Biden's own party. So, and I think the issue of that and the inflation, I think those are, I don't know if you follow the CEO of Twitter, Joe, what's his name again? I can't remember these names anymore, but time to time I do actually email him. Let me find his name right away. So that way he knows that he's not that popular. So if you cannot remember his name, right? So let's see, where is Jeff, right? Isn't it Jeff? Jack, oh my God, Jack. So so this is part of getting old is not fun. So the CEO of Twitter was saying that inflation was going to be one of the biggest problem in the next several months. And I think he is right about that, because these types of spendings, if they are not controlled properly, it's going to impact the economy in a really irresponsible way. So I am actually personally, I'm concerned with this one because we are at the highest on the death ratio, I believe, in the last 10 to 20 years, maybe. So this is just going to increase that ceiling. Yep. And that means unless we take over China, there's no money coming in. That means things are going to get more expensive and things are going to be more, it's not going to be available, accessible to us.
More difficult,
more difficult. Now, there was one other topic that we had for today was, so actually we already gave this news, I believe, last week, but this is the final clearance that for the kids between 5 to 11. So it's now confirmed and it's authorized by CDC. Yep. But the one that was interesting is the benefit of the vaccination and this avoiding brain damage. So didn't go into this too deep, but you read this before I did. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, not to delve too deep into it, but a kind of a main theme that you're able to take away from this article is the fact that the vaccine has benefits, not necessarily related one-to-one with the COVID, with the SARS. So, getting the COVID vaccine, yes, it's going to help against COVID itself, but there's so many other impacts where I think, in healthcare, sometimes it might be difficult where you might get tunnel vision where, if you get treatment A, you're expecting it to, impact, condition B. Whereas it really, I think, more like a tree diagram where if you do A, it's going to help B, C, D, E. So, having new studies come out with, this is going to help, I believe it was Alzheimer's in this particular instance where it's impacting the blood vessels in the brain, which, associated with the memory and memory loss. So there's, obviously I'm assuming the more research we have, the more information you'll get, you'll see there's going to be more positives and impacts from the, vaccine.
My point with the vaccination is, which I said this several times, but again, from the study standpoint, research standpoint, this is the biggest group of people who got vaccinated. This is the biggest medical study ever. So it's not like just, in the last 10 years or something, not this many people receive one medication, vaccination in this case, and then we see what the results are. So this is the safest thing to do at this point. So my parents are all vaccinated. I always say this, one of them is 71, the other one is 81. And if I had kids, they would be vaccinated. So from my point, there's no question, but I think there are still some unknowns for those when this is not available, when it's not, when people are not getting it, what they may be getting into is kind of scary. I mean, I don't want to be in that situation, or I don't want any of my family members to be in that situation. But understanding more and then see what it's eliminating is important. Yeah. So, so that I think in a nutshell what we had today. So we had some technical issues, but I think this started this week. It wasn't the first time. So I was losing the connection. So we are hoping that next week we won't have these issues, and we'll be back with new updates from COVID and other healthcare related items. I do want to actually discuss one of the issues with the increase of the fee schedule for some of the hospitals, local hospitals that we know the cost has increased in our value-based contracts. And then when we look at why this increase is happening, for the same service that was costing $2 last year, it's costing $3 this year, but it's only for specific hospitals. So we are just trying to validate the data. So once it's confirmed, then I do want to share those in this setting. And other than that, so that's all we have for today. We do have our Bariatric Friday event at 3 p.m., which is in 50 minutes, so we'll be back. Hopefully we won't have any technical issues for that. So Sean, thank you for joining me.
Of course,
and
always.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.